Welcome to Holdback Podcast. My name is Jessica Hare. I operate Hare Hollow Farm, and we breed boas, balls, and select colubrids.
Hi, I'm Jana King. I operate ASM Royal Tails, and I breed high-end ball pythons.
We want to share our journey navigating herpetoculture and are dedicated to promoting biohazard safety for all species. And we would love you to answer the question, what's in your holdback rack? Hello.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning. Did you see the new reptipay app that they're working on?
Did you have the post up and could read it verbatim?
I could read it verbatim. Just a second. It says, Rain Exotics made an announcement 3 days ago. We are extremely excited to announce that a team of developers and business associates are working on the development of a web, iPhone, Android-based, all-in-one payment digital wallet shipping software designed entirely for the reptile industry. More information will be released soon.
So I think this will never come out. And if it does, it'll be something that's only, on the blockchain. Because it's actually much harder than
What do you mean blockchain?
A crypto wallet where you're transferring money through a particular currency or tied to the dollar currency. It's really hard to pretend to be a bank. The FCC is not going to look on a little business and be like, oh, you're going to escrow cash and then manage disputes. You're a bank. So what are they? If it comes out, I'm assuming it'll be just as a credit card processing company, maybe tied in with shipping, but they're not going to be able to have the time or energy to mediate disputes the way PayPal does, where it's sort of automated. I would be surprised if it ever sees the light of day, honestly. It sounds like a good idea on paper. It would probably do much better if it was an all animals-based pay system. The amount of transactions that are for reptiles is actually relatively minimal compared to the rest of the hobby as a whole. Like, think about somebody who sells dogs or cats. Like the PayPal tsunami that happened earlier this year, where a bunch of people's accounts were closed and funds were seized, also affected dog and cat breeders and chinchilla breeders and whatever else. So like the other parts of the hobby, if you could bring them all together, then maybe that amount of transfers on one platform would be worth becoming a bank over, getting FCC approval.
Or if you were already a bank.
Yeah. So I know John Layman has talked about this topic, integrating payment into Morph Market directly.
Right. Yeah. But it's a lot to take on.
Yeah. It's a lot to take on. It's its own sort of topic. And does Morph Market want to be a bank or a dispute?
Funds disputer.
Yeah. The dispute one is hard. You almost need 100 people on phones just to manage. It came to me with mites. I want all my money back. And the person's like, well, it did come to you. And so then did it come to you in the quality? That's its own minefield. It came to me with Nido. I want my money back.
The amount that they're having to mitigate when they're not involved in the funds is more than you would think.
Yeah, Morph Market. Yeah, 100%. It's actually very difficult. That's why I'm like, cool, good idea, maybe. Let's see.
I think it's a fantastic idea.
If it comes out.
But it's almost naive. It's almost like this naive, sweet little dream. And maybe they do have the right people behind them. Maybe they have done their research. Maybe they do want to be a bank. And maybe they're going about it the right way. I mean, maybe they'll prove us wrong. But it's a lot. It's a lot to put into one thing. It's a lot to make it only reptile-based, not just animal sales-based.
They have a nice logo.
They have a beautiful logo.
I know, I love it.
I'm hopeful, but I am ready to be disappointed by it's not working.
Obviously, there's a way that people can get together with common interest and make a bank. It's called a credit union. So it's possible. The criteria.
It's not something I would want to take on. It's not something I would want to be a part of.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that if it does well that I wouldn't participate in it. I just think that it's a bigger animal than they're understanding it. But they haven't given us much information. So maybe they've done their due diligence and they've been working on it a long time. But as just a reaction to what's happened with PayPal, I'm skeptical.
I agree. It's okay. We'll have to wait and see.
Do you want to talk about FedEx shipping and fuckery in Indianapolis?
So FedEx has been spiraling down the toilet bowl since COVID happened, basically. And my understanding from people who look at the delay rate for overnight shipping, it's been 20% the whole time, all the time.
Wow. That's unacceptable with live animals.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if we had a figure for what of those 25% or 20% did not survive.
It's probably very low because reptiles are okay.
They're pretty hardy.
Yeah. It's when
But we're getting into the time of year where they're not as hardy.
I don't think Ship Your Reptiles has released their like insurance payout rates because I buy insurance every time, at least for the
But
shipment.
not everybody does. So it wouldn't actually be like a
indicative
number of the industry.
Yeah.
In this industry.
But that would be the only way I would guess we could find out. But I know I've shipped for free because it was delayed every other time in the last 2 months. So I've had a 50% delay rate.
And you get your money back?
Yeah, because
Explain to me how this works. What is this voodoo magic? I've shipped a bunch and had them been delayed and did not get my money back.
Do you use Ship Your Reptiles?
No, I use Reptiles to You, and I don't think they offer insurance.
So all of the other ones, except for Ship Your Reptiles, has been not offering insurance because FedEx doesn't guarantee it anymore either. Only Ship Your Reptiles. So that's why I like insist. So I pay $250, and I get the cost of the bill minus the cost of the insurance, which is $250 to get it back. And if it's a high value animal, I can also insure $250 per $100 of animal if the animal dies. To get that back. I don't always pay for like the cost of the animal because usually the animals are fine if they're packaged correctly for the second day. But I always buy insurance now, and they only offer it if it's shipped to hub and shipped on a Tuesday or Wednesday and shipped when they say it's safe.
That's what I do anyway. So,
yeah.
So maybe I will switch my provider because it's been a hot mess.
Yeah, at least do that until things maybe normalize if they're ever going to do that ever again, because none of the other providers have done that. And I've had people be like, come to me to want something, and they're like, I want it shipped Monday for Tuesday. I'm like, no. And they're like, why not? And then I explained to them, like, oh, I've always used Reptiles Express, so I have no idea there even was shipping. And I'm like,
yeah, I didn't know any of that.
Yeah, so there's a hot tip. So
hot tip.
So I've
your reptiles
shipped for free a couple times, but like it doesn't feel free because then you're like, oh my gosh, where is it? Please.
You paid for it in other ways.
Yeah, I paid for it in suffering.
Years off your life of stress.
And since the shooting, I feel like Indy's gotten much worse in terms of staffing. Or
it's interesting
maybe
that they're not just owning that and using a different hub because, okay, I get it.
Well, they're using Indy as their like overflow hub, so that they're shipping stuff from Memphis to Indy when Memphis is too full to sort.
But they shouldn't be because they cannot keep it staffed. Who would want to work somewhere where people were literally shot at and killed?
Yeah, because they were overworked to begin with.
Because they were overworked and crazy.
It's not funny. Don't laugh.
How poorly that they were treated.
Yeah, I know FedEx knows its brand is having some problems, but since it's our only option, that's all we got. So
it is all we got. So I would love to see. So I know they're coming out that little reptile app, but what I would actually love to see, but I'm not going to put any of my energy into, which I'm sure is how everyone feels. I would love to see a animal or reptile specific shipping company that wasn't FedEx. Like I would love to see somebody like, is that a sustainable industry on its own without FedEx? Is it something that we can rally as a community to get someone to start shipping? And can we do it nationwide? And can we do people who are going to go out to the tarmac and get the box off the freezing plane and put it inside? You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
You call FedEx and you have a package that's been missing for 3 days and they're like, yeah, we have no means of speaking to the people on the ground and telling them to specifically go get your package, even though there's a live animal in it. In a perfect world, I would love to see a courier who just worked with animals and just... I've had a dog shipped to me and...
Wasn't it Delta Dash though?
It was a Delta, yeah. There was no room for them to be like, oh, I don't know where your dog is. Like,
right, but Delta Dash is like $180 a shipment or whatever.
Yeah, but sometimes we're getting up there to like $110.
Yeah, well, we could Delta
FedEx,
Dash.
and then you're waiting a week.
So we could Delta Dash now, too, if we wanted to, but some people live too far away from the airport, so just to go pick up would be an hour, 2, 3 hours. So it depends on how expensive.
For me to the airport, for sure. Sometimes it feels like with certain snakes, and when you're moving up to the higher end snakes and your snakes are worth $5,000-$10,000 and you're waiting on a box that's got $8,000 of investment and live animals in it, it takes years off your life when they're like, I don't know where your package is. and the temps are overnight like 40s, you know? It's like
I think a courier service could work if it was very regional. I'm going to ship to Sacramento, California. So there's like a West Coast courier and an East Coast courier, maybe a Southeast courier. It takes 40 hours to drive across the country from Washington to the East Coast. So the possibility of having a nationwide dedicated reptile courier that's not using airplanes is zero.
It has to have airplanes involved.
And then can we have enough like usage of like, let's say we like that courier co-opted Delta Dash space and put its boxes in like a Delta Dash space.
Right.
You would still need the vet certificate for each animal to do that instead of pretending it's just like cargo. And they wouldn't have enough volume to buy their own planes like a FedEx does or Amazon Prime now does. So I almost think it's literally impossible. It's very nice, but if it was regional, especially on the East Coast, because you could drive.
Why can't we get Amazon Prime to ship our reptiles? Because my ship from Amazon's here on time.
Sometimes. I don't know. Well, it might have been late recently, too.
Anyway, I think we've beat that one to death. In the perfect world, it would be really phenomenal to be able to see either FedEx step up and start treating these packages as more than just cardboard boxes with mystery ingredients, or
that's why we get the price we get, though, even though it's $80 or whatever. If we want them to pull it aside and set it in like a temp controlled part of the truck, I would expect double the cost, basically, because then you wouldn't be able to manage them the same. They'd be on different carts, scanned in differently, scanned into a specific part of the truck. I just think it would be, I'm going to be a poo-pooer on that one. I don't think it'll ever happen.
You know, it's interesting. It's an interesting perspective because I don't ship things overnight generally, unless it's a reptile. I mean, I go through the postal service, I ship to Raw Labs overnight, but that's $26. So that maybe that's where I'm getting my skewed pricing from, because if you're paying $100 to ship something, in my brain I want them to treat it better. But you're saying if I was shipping anything overnight, that we're using a system that's not designed for what we're using it for, and that's why we're running into problems, is what you're saying. Is that correct?
Yes. It's just dumb luck that reptiles do okay in the system that already exists for packages anyway.
Okay.
Like that they don't need that much oxygen and they can tolerate being kind of cold but not super cold.
It's just dumb luck, that we are in the system, whereas I was looking at it because we have ship your reptiles or reptiles to you. I'm looking at it as I'm paying for a reptile courier, but that's not what's actually happening.
Right. The courier service that exists like in Europe and England does exist because of the density of people. So they can take in some people, we're not taking in people. We're taking in snakes. Taking some snakes. They actually hold them for quite a while, like days, weeks, which is its own sort of biohazard safety risk. And they wait until they reach like a quorum of snakes or lizards or whatever going to a specific destination. And then they send a truck, those 5 animals on it, all the way to Belgium or whatever. So while it sounds good on paper, there's not enough volume to actually make that economical unless you do the system where they do it in Europe. And that's actually has its own risks beyond.
That sounds worse than what we're doing.
Yeah, we literally have to unbox them, put them all in cages, give them water,
and I don't
hope they don't get crypto.
I don't want to put that risk into somebody else's hands.
Yeah, or die from like a fire, which happened to DDI last year. One of the European shippers, they're also exporters, and I think they work with couriers. Their facility experienced a fire, so there was like a question of liability. I'm sure they sorted it out. If it's in someone else's facility for a long time, who's liable? Surely not the original breeder anymore, but maybe it is. I don't know how they signed their contracts. So keeping them all in a box and just shipping them real quick, to me, is almost safer.
Almost better and safer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely from like diseases standpoint, it's absolutely safer.
Mm-hmm. Justin's new video, did you get to watch it?
I have watched it. I was not impressed with the Cypress special. I don't know if that's going to get me some hate because everybody loves what Justin does, and I think he's phenomenal, but it didn't blow my skirt up. I love Cypress Gene. I love the special Gene. I'm interested to see how it will affect the market. Now that we've watched a few times him release things and the market go crazy afterwards, I don't feel like it's happened this time, so maybe others weren't as impressed, just like I was.
I feel like special already had its like, hey,
moment.
Go get special. And the special went up for that reason, maybe like last year when the older male special. Special was already up when it was in Het Clown combos.
Well, and Cypress has been gaining on its own. I just didn't see a flex after, which sometimes you do.
Yeah, no, I didn't see it either.
Oh, I love this.
It was weird that Justin was pretending to be surprised by what it looked like. He's like, oh, I was really surprised. I'm like, you were? You have Cypress yellow belly combos from other years. And we've seen Cypress combos that are quite red and blown out and nice.
Right.
Already produced that are almost breeding now. So like, it's not a surprise that it would look blown out and nice. I think maybe the surprise he meant was the color, that it was so orange specifically and not red or reddish.
Yeah, maybe he was going for reddish. I don't know.
I think that's the special.
Reddish with a purple-ish. You're going to get orange-ish.
Yeah, I thought it was great looking.
It was a nice animal. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't cry if that was in my rack, but
I thought it was better than that Desert Ghost Pompeii.
No, you hated that.
So stupid. It wasn't a Pompeii. It was almost a Pompeii. But
almost a Pompeii, yes.
He's like, this one's better. I'm like, Justin's drunk. He's drinking his own Kool-Aid. It's crazy. This one is red, and this one's yellow.
Filler videos, or maybe they've just changed up their style and feeling since the rebrand. Newest videos I'm still having a hard time watching.
Are you hurt that Justin moved on?
I'm not hurt. I'm not. It's not personal. I feel like they did a very drastic style change along with their rebranding, and even his energy is different while he's presenting his information. And he had somebody else doing the show on Wednesday or whatever, and it's different than what I'm used to, and I'm having a hard time being excited about that.
That's okay. Things do change. I wonder, since Summer's her name, right? The girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Since she did Wednesdays, I wonder if he's trying to like give some of his video responsibilities over as part of the new brand on purpose, and he's gonna keep pulling back so like he can go drive Porsches and like have social media be handled by like his younger, attractive, interesting employees. I
absolutely,
because Chase does some videos by himself too, and that's fine, right?
See, but now don't watch that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is he trying to pull back extra as part of the Kinova brand? Is bringing Summer mostly does his social media, so he's going to make Summer do social media more.
Of the Kinova brand is that he wants to be able to pull back and probably have more time in his life. Doesn't he have like 5 or 6 kids?
500 or 600 kids.
I mean, he's got kids and they're like getting to that age where they're like, let's go do fun, cool things. They're not these leeches anymore.
I love leeches.
That need your constantly everything. I totally love my leeches, but my oldest is 9 now and she's starting to get really fun and cool. And we go and do more things with her that we can't do with our younger kids. And I think maybe his kids are hitting that point, and he really is like the nerdy mastermind behind everything. So maybe that's who he wants to be again. There's no reason why when you're at the top of your game, you can't pull back and let other people do the time suck things.
He changed his Patreon output level recently. Like, he used to show, like, he has admitted publicly that he videotapes every clutch cutting or just like clutch evaluation, initial look, just for his own records. So
yes,
that's actually like a good idea.
Super smart.
Even if you don't publish it. So he was publishing the sort of most interesting one that week all the time on Patreon, and he stopped doing that because he's like, I don't think it's that interesting anymore. And I actually thought it was, so he only posts every other week or every 3 weeks a clutch cutting with morph evaluation of the contents of the clutch, which is also good because you can hear his logic of why he's splitting them apart. But it just felt like that was a pullback because now we don't have 2 videos from him every week, one of them being a Patreon only. It's the 2 videos that are publicly released, and then we might get a Patreon video every couple weeks. So it felt like a pullback there also. And he's not particularly active in his Discord.
I'm sure that he's doing too much, and
yes,
that's what this whole rebrand was about, is that he's at a point in his life where he's like, I am the top of the game. I don't have to be killing myself and taking time away from other things that, like his family or other things. I think that he is probably trying to delegate more because he said in his videos, he personally pairs all of his snakes. He personally decides all of his breedings.
Yeah, I would hope so.
He personally cuts all of his clutches. So he has his hand still like very predominantly in his business. And so if he's also doing all the videos and his Patreon and his Discord, and it adds up really fast how much time you're spending doing those things. And so if he's refocusing, why not rebrand and refocus and change people's expectations of how you spend your own time?
Since we're here, do you want to give your hot take on both the name and logo selection and color?
I hate the new wall.
It's very sad.
It is very sad. There is no reason that he could not have done a rebrand and left his wall the iconic blue. I don't understand that piece, and I'm starting to get on board. I don't like change, and so it was real hard at first. And I was like, at first, initially just really put off by it. Totally understand where he's coming from. But initially, the design was awful. The name was awful. It's growing on me. But the wall was wrong. What's the guy called? His developer of it all person. Who's that person? Marketing person that he worked with to do the Kinova and all that stuff. That was wrong. He could have been Kinova and still have the iconic wall. And now it's this like nasty, drab.
It's even like
green.
matte. It's like it's even not shiny. Like it couldn't even have been semi-gloss.
So awful. It is literally like vomited diarrhea on the wall. It is the worst color it could possibly be. And I think that if he had left the wall blue, that I could just totally after a few weeks, okay, it's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. You can be Kinova. Like, the name has grown on me. I didn't like the new logo, but it's grown on me. The wall will never grow on. It's awful, and it needs to get painted back the right color. What are your thoughts?
I don't like that name Kinova is a robotics company. I think it's a Canadian robotics company. So when you Google Kinova, that's all you get. It's like robotics company.
Oh, I hadn't Googled it yet, so I didn't know that.
Spanish TV. So like...
I got the Spanish TV.
Yeah, they obviously knew that when they picked it because they picked it and trademarked it anyway. So that's fine. It is growing on me more. It's... also fine. Like, I don't care what he does. He could probably get away with whatever he wants. He could have probably called it like Drildos Are Us, and we'd all be like, okay, sign me up. I want some more Drildos.
Right.
All these ball pythons are now Drildos, trademark. Right. And you can buy one for your pleasure. What do you do with it? You decide. So,
why were you not the marketing director? This is brilliant.
Oh my God. Speaking of Drildos, so the USARK changed their logo. The hobby-facing logo is now the spray-painted one, and the outward-facing logo is a pretty generic logo. American-loving one. Yeah, but the original hobby one has always, like the snake heads on the U and the S have always looked like mildly penis to me, since always.
I'll have to look next time I wear the shirt.
Yeah, you can't unsee it. It's not snake-shaped. It's penis-shaped a little bit. Sorry, USARK. So in that way, I'm glad we have upgraded with the reduction of 2 penis heads on the USARK logo. Good job.
I understand why they did what they did, and for perception and to be more professional and to be taken more seriously, because they're literally involved in lawsuits and fighting for our rights. So I totally get the change, even though it's so bland and so vanilla and so it looks like a presidential campamping.
Barely even that interesting.
It's barely even that interesting. But wow, I need to go look at that now. I'm Googling that.
Did you see the mock? So there was that post that Donovan Winterberg did, and he was like, I think this doesn't have a lot of life. And then some people came in defending the new USARK logo, but he offered one that he made that he thought had more
personality.
Personality is a great word. A little bit more of like the flavor of the hobby, but still clean enough to be outward facing without looking like literally the US Bank logo repeated. And a lot of people like came in there and piled on about how he didn't know what he was doing, etc., etc. I liked his little logo idea. I thought it was nice.
Where was that?
It was on his personal Facebook page. You don't
so
have
what's
to.
His name again?
Donovan Winterberg. You don't have to look it up now, but it's an interesting conversation for our listeners as well, seeing whose opinion was what and how much and why they were saying what they were saying.
I wrote that down for later.
I just thought it was weird that they didn't pick 3 rebrand logos and put it to a vote of the community. I would have expected that to happen, frankly, for their like external facing logo. But it turns out there's the USARK board is just some number of dudes who are on the board and they just make the decisions, and what they decide goes, and that's it. I don't even know the full board members, but I do know some of them. And a lot of them are like old time
It is not a co-op.
Yeah, no. And they don't want democracy here. So there's no voting. We could have submitted all the designers in the hobby that do good could have submitted clean submissions, then we could have all voted on like the top 10 that the board picked. No. Nope. It was pro bono work from that advertising firm, so they did it for free. So that's nice. Thank you.
Nice. Yeah, thank you.
But it's totally fine. It's interesting that they didn't put it to some sort of like collective.
I think they knew that there was going to be a lot of frustration and dislike of it. And so I think they just were, this is what we're doing. This is what it is. Go cry about it and then come back because we're moving forward, people.
Yeah, there's a whole episode of the inception of USARK and what USARK's doing good and what USARK chooses not to defend, like at the city level or county level in terms of laws. They just don't have the resources. So we can talk about like the good and bad of USARK in terms of the only hobby sort of voice. One day that'll be a topic. Not today.
Future episode. Okay, so do you want to get into favorite morphs?
Really quickly, the first episode, I used way too many likes, and I want to apologize out loud. I probably still did it in this episode, but it was late at night, and we were getting tired and a little bit more confused. So, I'm sorry. The other thing we both missed.
Okay, later we can have a drinking game and we can do shots every time you say like.
You will die. I had to edit it. I already took out a couple hundred likes. There are still 1,000 left. It's insane. I've never been so embarrassed. I used to be a coherent adult, and then I had a child, and I just sat at home and took care of it for 4 years. Now here we are.
It's a real thing. I'm about 4 years ahead of you.
Yeah.
But also have a younger one than you do.
Do you have any brain cells left that fully function?
I do not. They have literally sucked them out of me. Literally.
Yeah,
it's amazing I can string together a coherent thought.
Good
let
job.
Alone an intelligent coherent thought. It's just motherhood is magic.
Is that what it is? Man, thank you for letting me know. The other one was welcome. We both missed explaining our business name origin in our intros. So we have weird business names, both of us.
Oh, we did. And so you're right.
Like in our story of how we were in our inception, we didn't explain. So I was wanted to do a quick. Okay. Why do we have weirdo names, and why do we think we're special enough to deserve weirdo names instead of the standard stripper name, letter exotics? The strip club.
That's what mine is. Letter exotic.
You're almost a strip club. I was gonna go for ass and titties exotics, and then I realized that was probably gonna draw on the wrong crowd at the Reptile Expo.
We try to keep ours family friendly, but there was a few ideas that were a lot of fun that I'm bummed we did not use.
For my name, personally, I hate names that end in exotics because you sound like a strip club. Sorry, all of you. It's most of you. I know you're not a strip club, but other people, they might not know.
It's confusing. It's a gray area.
Yeah, and then the people who do like an acronym reptiles, acronym pythons, that's very hobby normal, and that's fine. But I wanted farm specifically because I was going to breed other kinds of animals, and I do breed other kinds of animals, and they're all under the umbrella of the same corporation. So we're not such and such reptiles, we're a farm. Also, I think it's a sort of appealing thought. Oh, my snake came from a farm, not a strip club.
Maybe I like the strip club.
I mean, there's a certain clientele that is more interested in like ass and titties exotics. Like the people who put half-naked women on their logos. Okay, I get it. Get who you're going for. I mostly sell bananas to kids. I don't need half-naked ladies on my logos, and I don't need hard to pronounce or spell words. And our last name is Hare, so that's why we're a farm and not exotics, reptiles, pythons, whatever.
Okay, what about the hollow? Why is it not Hare Farms? Why is it hollow?
Have you ever been to a farmer's market and you go to all the little farms? Every farm has like a cute name. Doesn't even have to do with anything per se. It'll be like...
Right. No, it's adorable, like, your name.
Yeah,
was there something behind that?
Nope. It just had a nice sound. Like house on Poppy Hill or White House on the Hill or want Lone Oak Farms. They just find a feature of their property and they're like, this is my farm. The corporation owned registered Nubian dairy goats. So if we ever wanted to go to a farmer's market and actually sell food, we needed a normal sounding name for that. I actually think it's pretty good. I guess you don't know.
It sounds great.
It sounds nice together. We do not have a really hollow on the farm per se, but it sounded fine on paper. It's maybe a little long of a name. And since Justin set the standard that we all should have flashy, vague names, maybe we should all change it. But the overly complicated logos and overly complicated names is such a reptile hobby thing that it's like cute now. This is our version of shabby chic, is these inwardly facing names that don't make sense to anybody else and are obviously terrible logos in the real world. But we are by nature a boutique business.
Absolutely.
So we are not ordering 10,000, widgets from China and getting them on a container ship that gets stuck and then one day gets here and then selling them on Etsy. So we need like a outward brand name. That's not our business model at all. We don't need brand name, high volume logos or names. You need something that somebody can personally identify with, whichever way they do that, in my opinion.
What's my logo story? So you heard in my story last episode that this was a journey I started with my 9-year-old daughter, Ariana, and she wanted to pick our name, which I was completely fine with. She also had aspirations of being a YouTuber, so she was going to be the face on our YouTube channel, so she could pick the name. I was fine with that. And we shot around some ideas, and I kind of helped her a little bit, and our last name is King, and ball pythons are sometimes referred to as royals, like royal pythons. So she was like, we should use royal because it has to do with our last name and it has to do with ball pythons, which is what we breed. And we should be Royal Reptiles. And she thought, so she drew out this really cute logo. I still have it. I should frame it actually. And she wrote out our logo as Royal Reptiles. And she thought that that's what reptiles were called. Like, I don't know how in all this process, we had been watching all these vlogs, we had been doing all this research, but in her brain, it had stuck somehow that reptiles were reptiles. And so that's how she spelled it. That's how she wrote it out. She thought that that's what they were called because they had tails, and she was owning it. Like, this is what they're called. And we just thought it was the cutest mistake ever that we kept it. And so we were Royal Reptiles, but Google hates misspelled words with a passion. The algorithm hated us. Anytime you would Google us, it would switch it to Royal Reptiles, and there is a Royal Reptiles breeder, so it was a little bit confusing. There's also another breeder that I had searched for it, and I didn't find him the first time I searched for it because the algorithm hates us. It wasn't until after we had picked that name that I realized there is another breeder with that name. So we were a couple months in, and I was like, this is not working. I hate this, and I'm sick of fighting the algorithm. I'm sick of people messaging us and saying, there's another breeder with that name.
Did people message you? I'm
People
surprised.
messaged me,
Wow.
yes, on Facebook and Instagram that we had stolen someone's name. Not the people who have the name. They never reached out. They never said anything. They never slammed us publicly or anything. It wasn't a thing. They probably wasn't even on their radar. Like, we were nobodies with no following. Like, it didn't even matter. No, we were reached out to by other people who were like, you're stealing their name, even though their logo was like a crown and ours was a cute little green snake. Anyway, so we were on a mission.
Royal Reptiles. They thought you were stealing Royal Reptiles with the crown.
Royal Reptiles. There is a Reptiles spelled the wrong way.
Lord. So both of them have crowns for logos?
I think so. I think they both have crowns.
Yeah, Royal Reptiles has a crown. Like a crown royal looking crown. Purple with gold. Yeah.
Yes. So there's both. There's a company with both names. We had a couple clutches by then, and my daughter, she liked to write on them instead of the X. She liked to do flowers or whatever. And she had written ASM on one of the eggs. And that is the first initial of all three of my daughter's names, Ariana, Serafina, and Magnolia. So we were shooting around ideas of what we should name the company, and she was like, well, what about our initials? Because we had that clutch that we had just done. And I was like, oh, I really like that. And I wanted to still keep the part of our name that she had given us originally, that part of our story and that memory of her, reptiles instead of reptiles. It held a lot of significance to me personally, and so I didn't want to just do away with that. And so we shortened it to Royal Tails because the Google algorithm is fine with tails, just not rep tails. And so we just took off the rep. And so that's how we got our name, ASM Royal Tails.
Two weirdos here.
Two weirdos. Although I do have the Dude Bro Fancy logo. Come on.
Good job. Who was your logo designer?
Sinking Pencil.
All right, never heard of him. Looks nice, though.
He does actually a lot of the industry's logos. Blue Line Morph.
Oh, yeah. Looks similar.
Logo. The other original Royal Rep Tails, they just had their logo done by him, which I think is ironic. And there's a lot. If you go to his page on Instagram, I would say 90% of his designs in the last year have been for the 2020 baby boomers.
Did you tell him what you wanted, or did you just say, like, put some pies on there? Go for it.
No, I was very, very specific, and I was probably the customer he hated the most.
How many
because I sent him
dues did you do?
4.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I was very specific on color palette. I was very specific on snakes. I have a genetic stripe right here and a pied over here. And I was very specific. I wanted Seattle, and he had it inverted. And I was like, that's wrong. And my husband's like, actually, it doesn't matter. Anyway, and so we had an argument about which direction Seattle should be facing. And I picked all the colors, and I had him redo the lettering a bunch.
Yeah, I also have a overly complicated logo that I knew basically what I wanted. And I gave mine to Donovan Winterberg, and he simplified it enough that it made a better logo when you do a t-shirt or whatever. If it's just white and the t-shirt color, that's probably better. We had a couple of edits, but I was pretty happy pretty quickly. Just wanted a generic looking snake of any sort of indeterminate species and a rabbit swirling around each other, trying to eat each other.
Yeah, yours is very simple, but like in a good way. Like the good simple. I made mine very complicated, and I was obnoxious.
Yeah,
I own my obnoxiousness, though.
You know the like Targaryen house sigil it's the dragon with 3 heads. That's like almost what I wanted, but obviously this isn't Targaryen house. But like something circular and sort of complex, or like a Celtic knot painting that has like animals moving through the knots. But I want it to look like that, but not be that complicated. Like reduce 90% of all that. Take all that away. Just have like animals moving through a space. And I got what I wanted. Thanks, Donovan.
Yeah, yours is awesome. And I love how your banners and stuff, I need those. How it translates onto a simple banner. It just looks great.
Thought about, since Justin can get away with it, could we have second seed logos? Like a much simpler one? You know, AEP has his regular logo, then he has evolving in a particular font. That's almost his second logo now, is that t-shirt style.
Is. It's almost more recognized than his...
Yeah, than a circle one. Yeah, so I think about like what would be my second even simpler logo that is still on brand, and it might be an acronym or a shape, because you know Justin had 5 snake variants of his snake from his logo. So like those were all his second C logos too. I don't know what mine would be, but I do think about that as like an even easier way to convey your brand in addition to your main one.
So when I had this one designed, I had him also pull out just the lettering. So I have a file that just says ASM Royal Tails and has none of the extra stuff in case I ever need simplified branding. Right. I absolutely think that's essential in the industry that we're in.
Have you made t-shirt versions of it yet, or have you not tried that one yet?
I have thought about doing polos for the reptile show, and then I would do the simplified one on the front and then the big one on the back.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about doing that for the next reptile show. I've had people ask me for like shirts and merch and all that stuff. It just feels a little premature to me. I'm like, here's a sticker and a business card.
My husband, God bless his heart, he's like, we should buy like 20 to 50 shirts of different sizes for the show and some other merch. I'm like, no. No. I'm
a hard no, and I do get asked probably at least a dozen times. So I'm not saying you wouldn't sell any.
Well, you have just make a Teespring, and then they can order it direct and have it drop shipped to them in their size and color instead of pre-ordering all this inventory. You don't.
Genius.
Yeah, I have a Teespring. Nobody wants anything. I buy stuff to send to people I like in the color, and they send it directly, so I don't have to mail it myself.
That's genius.
Yeah, so I've sent it to like my friends or people who want a shirt.
Right. I got my family all shirts and they all wear them and love them. And I've had customers that are like, I just bought a snake from you. I want a t-shirt. And I'm like,
Good for you.
sorry.
No, I shut my husband down real quick. It's like, we're not
Oh, yeah,
ordering
don't do that.
we're not
Don't-
ordering
right,
inventory when no one cares anything about us at all. Not
Right.
Not
I
even
agree.
sort of.
Maybe, maybe if I had 20 something thousand followers and maybe if I was
Even
YouTube
then.
famous, even
Yeah.
then at Teespring, that's what I'm doing. I'll
Yeah.
bring a little blurb to put up on my table that says, if you want a shirt, go order it.
Yeah, and then probably those people won't order it because like the heat of the moment is where the sale is coming from. But if somebody really is dedicated to your brand, then you'll know. And you'll get
But I'm not going to have 50 shirts in all different sizes just sitting at my house.
Yeah, that
For
requires a
someone
whole
who wants
like,
one in the heat.
like room to like organize and keep it clean.
Well, even when my building comes in, it's full already.
Absolutely. Lame. No t-shirts. Unless you want
Sorry.
one. Reach out to
I'm
me
not-
privately
I'm
for a
not
t-shirt.
famous- I'm not
like,
famous enough to need t-shirts. I am not Justin. I do not need t-shirts. Other than for myself.
I have
They're
plans
awesome.
to do this as a whole episode. The idiosyncratic tendencies of the ball python hobby where people produce shirts
The merch
before they've even bred or when they've had one clutch and like they're trying to get their name out and it's commendable, but it drives me crazy a little bit.
I do think that you do need branding. I think you do, especially in our hobby specifically, you need branding because if you don't, people are like, oh, you must not be legit because Joe Schmo who's never bred has his branding all dialed in. I think you do need a brand, like a logo. I think you need a name. I think you do need Instagram before you have any clutches so that you can show your breedings and you can show that you're a legit human that's not a giant scammer, and you can show your history in the industry by using social media. I think that's more of what it is to me at this point because it's not about being famous or being known. It's more of proving that I am who I am and I am doing what I say I'm doing. And here's my 18 months of history on Instagram.
Yeah, a record of pairings is almost worth it for that effort alone. Like if they don't
Right.
believe you, well, here's time-stamped evidence of everything that's ever happened to me. How can you not believe me now? I don't know, unless the Cameroon scammers get your account and then they just take it all and then it's bye.
Or they delete you because they feel like it that day.
Oh my gosh, that's a whole other topic too. Is like Instagram's weird feelings about certain accounts, Reptile Warden, Mutation Creations specifically. I almost think somebody was mad and we kept reporting them for bullying, and so they got taken down for that reason. Not because of something they did specifically on the platform. But if someone decides to...
I would love a tell-all from somebody at Instagram. Tell us why this happened.
Yeah.
From the inside.
I don't
Not
think
gonna
we'll
get it,
ever
though.
know from Meta. He's coming for you. Zuckerberg.
Is that their new name?
Yeah. Did you watch their promotional material?
I sure didn't.
It's the scariest thing I've ever seen. It's like watching my snake crawl into a human body, like in Harry Potter, and pretend to be a person.
Yuck.
People love to talk, don't they? Right, guys? It's okay. Zuckerberg shouldn't be the face of his own company. Sorry, Zuckerberg. Everyone agrees, but he still keeps doing it. Moving on. Did you want to do a collection update of any kind? Did anything exciting happen to you this week? Did you pair anything?
So I didn't pair anything this week, unfortunately. Not because I didn't need to, but it was conferences and my kids, and I was a glorified taxi all week because of half days. So I got to drop my kids off, and then my youngest is in preschool, so she has to be at a different campus. So I basically spent all week driving between the school campuses. It was a crazy week. So rather than drive myself crazy, I didn't do any pairing, but we should have some exciting pairings this week. We did all of our ultrasounding last week, though. I was able to get that done. So I have about 10 that are 15 or above, which is really exciting. I'll take that. And so I am making sure that they get their lock-in this week or next week. Some of them are with the same male. So yeah, I have some exciting things coming up for next week's episode.
Good job. I just did one pairing this week. I was just testing the blackhead yellow belly posset clown male just to see if they get 800 grams. You're like, you're producing sperm, but are you interested? So I was doing like that test.
Are you capable?
Yeah, so he didn't need to go to her till next month, but since this is his first female for the next 2 months, I just wanted to see if he would lock, and he actually did. I posted the intro pics.
Awesome.
Yeah, so he was physically capable and interested. So he is officially on the docket. The tri-stripe male I tried last week, and he was like, what do we do here? Or they like sit weirdly somewhere in the corner, and you're like, this
weirdly
is
over the
middle
corner,
school again.
Scared.
Dang it. So he's still in middle school, even though he also is producing plugs. He just needs probably another month or 2 to figure it out.
Is he a visual tri-stripe?
Yeah. He's a banana pin tri-stripe.
I don't know that I've seen him.
He's on my gram.
I'll check out your gram.
He's from Sterling Nelson, actually, who has been promoting the Orange Bang. I don't know if we want to talk about that for like 5 seconds, but...
Very briefly, I've seen the Orange Bang and followed the links of Orange Bang and spent about 15 minutes looking at it. Did not form any solid opinions. You like it?
I thought it was nice. I'm not into oranger and lighter. That's not my jam in ball pythons. So I was like, it to me, it looks nicer than OD in the heterozygous form.
It looks a lot like high intensity OD to me.
The super looks different-er to me, but in the same vein. So if someone told me they were allelic, I would be like, I believe you. But I don't know if they're the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, it looked like it was the same
idea,
genre, if you will, of Orange. I'm not saying it's the same gene. I just meant that it had the same look. And while I have no hate of Orange Stream, and I think it's a beautiful morph and high intensity, I actually prefer over regular. And Ozzy, obviously, everyone goes insane over his stuff. But in general, I am not accruing very much Orange Stream. I actually don't know if I own a single snake right now. That's not true. I do. I have one single snake in my collection with OD. I
have 0 OD, but I wouldn't be mad if it appeared, but I don't need to go get it particularly also.
I am holding out for the right high intensity, really amazing, either female or male. It'd have to be lots of recessives if it was a male. So probably end up being a female. I probably have to go to Aussie and pay the premium price. But there's some that it's like you almost don't know it's OD. And for me, if it's a question of whether it's there, it shouldn't be being sold as a breeder, in my opinion. Because there's just some where it's just like, there might be OD in there.
That's most OD, though. In certain combos, almost all of them are unidentifiable as OD.
So the one OD I have, she's yellow belly, het pipe, and beautiful ringer. Is kind of a blah snake for what she contains, and obviously the breeders don't have to be beautiful if they're capable of producing nice offspring, but you just look at her and she kind of looks like a normalish. She's not a normal. She is what genetics she's listed as, but it's not impressive to me, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. I think OD has its very impressive combos, and then just a couple, the other 50% are, they're okay. Or I can't even tell there's OD in it, particularly. I would believe someone, but
right, so I believe there's OD in her, but it's not like she's this phenomenally orange snake. And it's kind of a letdown when you see it in real life, and you're like, this is not an Aussie snake.
Yeah, no. So our show topic today is just a discussion of ball python morphs, both favorites, incomplete dominants, worst incomplete dominants, favorite recessives, worst recessives, and then our top 5 untapped, sleeper, maybe most potential category, which is like the wild card category. And I thought it'd be fun to both of our lists at the same time, working from the bottom up. And so if I said my number 5 was your number 3, we'll just talk about that at the same time.
Okay.
And then we'll go to your number 5, and then if that's my number 2. So we were not like double talking or whatever.
That would be lovely, because I think that some of the...
I'm sure like it's actually mostly the same or very close.
And that could get really boring.
Yeah, so we'll just talk about each one time, but this will be a good way to introduce both our collections and like the trajectory we want our collections to look at based on what we personally are most attracted to or not attracted to within the ball python morph scene. Let's just do both best and worst incomplete dominants first. And incomplete dominant includes dominant because it's easier to think about it that way.
Okay.
And I just excluded desert because that's clearly the worst.
Absolutely.
But
I assumed everyone knew that.
It's not even on the table anymore, so it's not the worst in the whole category because it just doesn't count.
Oh, were we supposed to rank them or just in
Oh,
general?
I did, yeah.
Oh, I did the assignment wrong. Okay, that's fine. Okay.
You could probably kind of rank them in your mind right now.
That's what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
I got it covered.
All right, my number 5 of the best incomplete dominants was Wookiee. Did Wookiee make it to your top 5?
It did not.
So I love the Kraken babies. I think they're glorious. Wookiee looks like chocolate and is supposedly a lilac, which makes it a lilac with spot nose. It's a chocolate that in a combo, especially a Bell complex combo, everything floats magically up from the bottom. Like we're in the book It. We all float down here with Wookiee involved. So all the alien heads float up all by themselves, and there's this weird diffuse gray stuff that happens, and that's exactly within my like wheelhouse. I don't know if it's so different that we can't get that effect in like a super blackhead combo, because that's what happens in super blackheads, especially with Bell Complex. Everything floats. It's a very white float. Like the sides are very white, so it's very interesting to me. So that's why.
So if Wookiee made a different list, should I bring that up? I don't know the rules.
Sure. We only want to talk about it one time. So where's Wookiee?
Okay.
I'm assuming it's on your...
Wookiee, I put on the 5 most potential morphs.
Okay.
Or like the up and coming morphs.
I actually put it on 5 most upcoming morphs too, as number 2. What was your number?
These ones weren't ranked. I have it as number 3, but it's kind of ranked, so it can stay at number 3. I think it has so much potential. It's so untapped. I think it does beautiful things with the floating alien heads and the coloration that it adds. It's something I do not currently have in my collection and am sad about not having in my collection. It's something I think 2022 is very high on my list of needing to add probably a female.
Yeah, I messaged Justin about a Wookiee Pos Red Stripe, or maybe it was Red Stripe, male clown that was $7,000 or $6,000, and it was sold before I could buy it. I was like, oh, this is my power male. Here he is. I found him. But that's okay.
Just kidding.
That's okay. He was gone. I would do the same thing for like a Cypress clown too.
I have Cypress as my number 2 most potential.
Oh, I don't even have it on here anywhere, actually.
You don't have Cypress on there anywhere?
It's absolutely like with the codom gene incomplete dominant gene that is very exciting, but I have a lot. So it's like number 6 basically in my mind.
That's fair.
I don't have any of it either. It has the super has a wobble, so it can't be in my favorite group because it's not usable.
Super
form. In the super form. Fair. So I don't have. I like black pastel, but super forms. Yeah.
It is the number 1 gene I would like to add in 2022. I tried to add it, and it went terribly wrong this year, and it's very disappointing that I don't have it in my collection right now. If you have Cypress out there in your Nido-free collection, hit me up.
Nice. Yeah, I was looking at, I think it was Brian Gundy. He had a Cypress Mojave Ghost female. That was $1,500. It's just kind of expensive for a ghost combo, but Cypress Mojaves are cool looking in general. And I don't mind spending a lot of money for ghosts because I actually like ghost. I'm not soft on it like half the other hobby is, but...
Don't mess with your ghost, people.
And then that would make a great combo with what I already work with. For $1,500, it's got to be Nido tested negative. So I never got around to it.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with the Cypress Bongo Honey on Morph Market, and I'm not going to name names, but I'm not buying it from that vendor. I'm also not paying the price that they have listed for her, but she's beautiful.
So when Cypress accidentally comes with honey, which is a Bell complex, it's even better, and half of them are accidentally mixed, which is both good and bad because you accidentally have a Bell complex one. But the Cypress honey
makes things difficult.
Yeah, the Cypress
they're so beautiful.
It's crazy that it looks like a normal but isn't a normal. Like the pattern is almost normal, but the color effect is very strong. So your number 5 was...
My number 5 favorite morphs. I'm probably going to get crap from you for this, but I love the granite. And I know that this is like an umbrella term, and I know that that's sort of cheating.
It is cheating.
It's more like a category of animals. But I find the granite complex or the granite family or whatever we're as a hobby going to decide to call the Granity Morphs. Very exciting. I like the way they interact with other genes. I like the way that they speckle out, and I like that there is so many of them and that most of them prove out genetic. For some reason, granite as like a little side fun thing, it probably won't ever dominate in my collection. It probably won't be a big thing that I use. But on a personal satisfaction level, I really enjoy granite.
Granite made it to my untapped sleeper gene category, number 3. Because
good.
You don't know which kind of granite you have. You could have the kind of boring super ones or the ones where they're crazy. That feels fun to me too. But it didn't make it to my favorites. So what's your number 4 favorite?
My number 4 favorite is gravel.
Not
I know that
ass or ash fault.
Nope. I like gravel.
All right.
I know people have big opinions here, and most people think that you should mix yellow belly in with everything or asphalt, but I love super gravel in combinations. So super gravel pies, super gravel clowns, super gravel the world is my
Super
opinion.
gravel the world, she says. Hot take.
Hot take.
Oh.
Put super gravel in everything. I want to see it. I want to know what it does. I want to know what it looks like. Throw other genes in it. There was a super gravel pin about a month ago on Instagram. No recessives, just super gravel pinstripe, and it was phenomenal. Like, so beautiful. And so for such a simple morph, it kind of bothers me that super yellow belly is a white snake. I'm not a fan of the white snake, as much as this is going to get me crap, because I know that that's like a big, I don't know, not a fan of the white snake. So the fact that the super is not white is, I love that. And I know that you and I have had a very long conversation about how it's white because it's a higher intensity, but I enjoy the way that super gravel looks, and I enjoy the way that it interacts in combinations. And I think that we're going to see in the future, we're going to have more of an understanding of what makes a yellow belly and what makes a gravel, especially in combinations. Whereas right now, everybody has to list things as either or, which is very off-putting to people who are approaching the project. But I think as we move into a space where a lot of things are super gravel or just gravel and there is no yellow belly in those combinations, I think we're really going to see how it reacts differently because it does have a different intensity.
My number 4 was Calico.
That is my number 2 favorite gene.
Whoa, Calico coming in strong. I like Calico a lot, especially when it's really high white. I don't know anybody that doesn't like a really high white Calico. Like even when it's in pastel or something, where the pastel will brown out around it. And actually, that's good because then it's more contrast for the white, which sounds terrible.
What do you say?
I know.
It lifts up Pastel's fat ass.
Yeah, something like that. It does, obviously, interesting things in pied and interesting things in clown. The hard part is the variability of expression because you can have no white calicos. So there's a sort of sale issue there. But to me, it is an old gene that has a lot of legs still. It's basically like codon pied that makes weird recessive combos. What is it going to look like in tri-stripe? I don't know. It could be fun.
Could be really fun.
I'll find out.
I think that as breeders start keeping the truly high expression calico, and if we within our own collections are only keeping those higher white examples, I think that the higher white can be line bred in and that we can have more control over the expression that we're getting. I think that as breeders, we struggle with only keeping the best examples because when you make a combo and you hit a combo, that's the combo you're keeping. Whether it's the nicest expression or not, you kind of get what you get. And that's what you have to keep if you're trying to move your projects forward. But I think as they're become more available, especially like in clown and pied and even genetic stripe or kiki project, hopefully there will be more line breeding to get to that nicer quality. Whereas before, calico was kind of sleeping. It was a sleeper gene, and I think a lot more people are working with it. A very old gene that I don't think anyone was trying to line breed it to the higher expression. And I think that people will be doing that more in the future.
Just to add on to that very quickly, I'm not sure if line breeding for high white will improve the combos or not. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, like my no white black pastel calico neither looks like a calico black pastel nor anything else. She looks like, I don't know, like a super chocolate or something weird.
But her babies are phenomenal.
So like being no white has made the pattern even different still. So there will probably end up being two kinds of calicos.
There's room for both.
Yeah. So I don't know how it's going to affect the future hypothetical clown children to be no white versus full white, but we'll see. I'll braid them all. It'll be fine. We'll clear this right up in about 10 years.
Stay tuned.
You're number 3.
Black pastel.
I like black pastel a lot, but it did not make any list, good or bad.
I am aware. I like it. I like it in combos. I like how it interacts with a lot of the other jeans that I love, and it made my list.
Made your list. I think of the 8-ball complex, most people prefer black pastel. That's not maybe true for everyone, but a lot of people do. And black pastel was in the Pompeii, so it had like a resurgence, and it still sort of seems to be more favorably looked at than any other 8-ball complex.
It is my favorite 8-ball complex. It's one of my favorites in general. It goes good in my pipe projects. It goes good in my clown projects. It goes good in my highway project. It's just a universal, delicious reactive.
It's funny you say it goes good in pied because it makes high white pieds.
But I think that we're working towards getting them less high white. I think that...
Yeah, you can definitely selectively breed.
I think you're seeing more in the last year. You're seeing more black pastels with inchy and other things in them that are bringing pattern back, and it's a lovely color in pied. I really
it is a nice color,
and all by itself with nothing else, it's such a beautiful morph. It can totally stand alone in its single form, whereas even some jeans that I really like, they suck in their single form, but their super form's beautiful.
Right.
And I just feel like black pastel, even from like a pet standpoint, the pet market really likes it. Even from any project I want to put it, I have a black pastel female, and I have a list for the next 5 years of the males that I want to put to her. And she's literally only black pastel. And so for me, the versatility of it is one of the things that I like the best.
I agree.
Black pastel. You can laugh.
I have a lot of black pastels, but I like other stuff a little bit better. My number 3 is Mojave. That's my like junk jean that I can't get over.
Oh, I knew that was going to be in your list. It's useful. It needs to be there. I prefer Mojave as a bell jean over all the other bell jeans, but maybe honey might be starting to creep in there. But I don't like white snakes.
Yeah, you don't want to make a super Mojave. And that's why I run Mystic too, so I could hit a super Mystic clown with blackhead and GHI on either side or whatever, and have a visible product, or a Mystic potion. So I run both, even though I prefer Mojave in general. I just like that it's dark, sort of. They're usually very gray toned on the side with a yellow sort of dorsum. The stripe is quite yellow, and they combo better with everything in the earth than any other bell complex.
Absolutely.
It will combo hard. You give them a little granite, a little speckly thing, explosion. What just happened? The whole lateral's gone. There's just little like freckles. What? It's because Mojave's ready to have its sides react with whatever else you're going to give it to. GHI Mojave, it's gone. It's missing. We've lost the snake. He's now a black snake. All right. Excellent. Keep going. Let's keep going with this. So every time I look at a jean, I look at the Mojave combo first. Almost. Because
that's fascinating.
That's the one that looks great. Or it didn't actually, like Extreme Mojave, doesn't look that exciting. Yikes. Or
I know, but you have a love-hate relationship with Extreme.
I know. Or Mario Mojave, not that nice.
I have not.
Doesn't
seen
even
that
look like anything.
I'm not a Mario fan though.
Yeah, I mean, sort of me neither.
Of the gene.
It's a me. So Mojave's on my list because of how it combos, and it's sort of how it looks sort of by itself. I think a lot of people also agree that it's one of their favorite bell complex snakes.
No, it is hands down the best bell jean.
Yeah. All right. What is your number 2? Did we do? Oh,
my
we already
number 2
did
is Calico.
Okay. What's your 1? Number 2? My number 2 is GHI.
My number 1 is GHI.
Okay. Yeah. It's crazy to me how good it looks in a single jean, very dramatic, without being like all the way too dark. Lots of contrast and speckle, fun, and people immediately recognize it as an exciting looking thing that just it isn't necessarily just yellow or white. You know, like a new person can look at that and be like, that's significantly different, but in a dark way and not in a banana way or a lesser way. So that's what it makes it exciting to me. Its super is great, but why it's at number 2, because it's not as sort of exponentially different than the heterozygous form. So that's why mine's at number 2 instead of number 1. It does have a great clown, a great pied. I'm sure it'll have a great puzzle.
A great anything.
I'm sure it'll have a great tri-stripe.
It's become one of my favorites, which is surprising to me because it wasn't really high on my to-buy list. It wasn't very high on my radar of, oh, I love that. My G-stripe male ended up having that gene, and hatching it in combos has been... Every snake that has been my favorite this season has been one of his babies, and it's been a GHI combination. And seeing what it does in those combinations and seeing how it reacts, and how muddy's the wrong term because we use that when genes are bad, but how it just has this grain to it that it just throws in the patterns that I've just really fallen in love with it, seeing it in hatchlings.
Yeah, I think it's obviously not untapped or something like that, but it's very transformative, and the market appreciates and accepts what GHI is doing and will pay premium price for that. So there's no reason not to run GHI in your collection.
The morph value when it has GHI increases significantly. It's something I would like a lot more of, and I'm sad that I didn't keep every single baby that he has produced that was GHI.
Next year, you've learned some lessons. My number one is blackhead. So the blackhead heterozygote, I think, is slightly less dramatic and exciting than the GHI heterozygote, but the blackhead super is insane. Like, I don't know an animal on Earth that looks like an abyssal pit that you could stumble into when you're opening your tub. You open it up, oh, there's the call of the void. Let's just fall in. Woo!
Yeah.
It's very, without becoming all black like a super black pastel, it is as dark and evil looking as you can get, and still have a little bit of pattern to like give contrast, and the head almost completely goes away, just a tiny little baby truncated eye stripe. Very exciting. Very nice super black clowns. The blackhead pieds are very nice, and I bet the super blackhead pieds will be even nicer, and maybe even mostly black.
And they've done, I want to say it's some super mahogany blackhead pie.
Yeah, those are probably all back. Yeah, because the Sumas aren't quite there. And Suma is like a top 10, like a mahogany, or in Cypress. So they would be like special mention, but they didn't quite make top 5. But yeah, mahogany's
either. But together with the Suma, it's carrying a lot of weight and pushing the Suma where it needs to be.
Yeah, the Abyss is a Suma cinnamon or something, but you just need one dark gene plus Suma, and it usually goes all the way. So, but I like the blackhead in and of itself as a super. It's because you get a lot of float, a lot of smush, and a lot of darkness, and those are all things that I'm into: floating, smushing, darkness in ball pythons. Now let's go to the worst incomplete dominance, starting from the bottom, or dominance, but excluding desert. My bottom is Blade. Number 5.
Oh, I had to have known that was coming.
I struggled a little bit because a lot of genes that have a purpose somewhere in picking, but if you were like, do you want Blade? No. Please exclude it. So it's fine for what it does, but I don't actually want it ever for any reason. Please. Thank you.
So my number 5 was Scaleless Head.
Oh, I forgot about Scaleless Head. Oh my God.
I'm really bummed that you didn't put it in there because we've had some really fun conversations about Scaleless Head.
Should have remembered Scaleless Head existed. It would definitely have been in my top 5. I will reorder it. I will put it at number 1 right now because it's so dumb.
It's
sorry to shit on your project if you really like it. If you do like it, go for it, buddy.
Go for it. But it's not sustainable in the industry, and it's not. I feel like so many people, it was the hot 5-minute thing, and
you should listen to old bullshit where they're talking about like fighting over getting the first Scaleless Head for 50,000 and how they were like trying to position themselves to get it.
Yeah.
And
I'm so many people fell into the Scaleless Head, and now they have breeders growing up in their rack that they can't use. And it just, as a project, never made sense to me. The scaleless, the super form, all totally scaleless snake creeps me out and is not
You
my
don't like
thing.
penises
And
with
not,
eyes?
no, I mean, like, it's fun to watch other people struggle with this project and to see the results that they're getting, you know, like the scaleless pied. Okay, cool, good for you. But it's never something I desired to have on purpose in my collection.
100%. And I like the idea of using the heterozygote as like an enhancer because it does it a little bit, but it still looks a little ugly to me to have like a high expression scaleless head that has like a weird little patch.
Right.
Looks like a burn or a
looks
flaw.
like a burn or a damaged snake.
So how will you sell that to a pet store?
There's zero pet industry market for even the scaleless head. Like, people just don't get it. They're like, what did you do to your snake?
There's always a place for someone to breed something, even if it's not well loved. If you love it, go for it. So there's a lot of people still in the project and are fighting for it, and good for you. But I'm not interested at all. And if someone were to come to me like, I have 3 snakes, what should I get into next? I would not recommend scaleless head for purely financial reasons, let alone aesthetic reasons, penis envy. And I feel the same way about the scaleless corn snake, which is still the snake du jour. With between that and palmetto, it like.
Isn't it so interesting that one is marketable to the pet trade?
Yeah, it's because they just do a little better, and they breed just fine.
Scaleless corn.
I don't like that either.
That's their pet snake. They're not like super. They're not breeders. They're not super into it. They had it before I ever got a snake, and they have a scaleless snake, and it's just like not a big deal. But a scaleless ball python, I would not feel comfortable with someone having that as in the pet trade.
Well, ball pythons already can struggle in an aquarium to begin with. Having suboptimal humidity for a ball python is different than a corn, which can already tolerate household humidity percentages anyway. So if it's scaleless, it doesn't matter as much. Okay. And they have ventral scales.
That's fair.
They can do fine in a pet home in a way that a ball python, with also the extra burden of not being scaled, does not do as well. I think they're also ugly. Like half of the appeal of a snake is how their little heads look. And scaleless corns look like little Muppets or something, which could be cute to somebody who's habituated to it. I'm good.
It's weird to me that they still have like their belly scales, whereas a ball python is completely scaleless, whereas a scaleless corn still has some scales.
I'm actually more okay with that. A little bit more functional.
It looks better than the totally completely naked ball python.
Even still, corn snakes are bred in such numbers and in such ways that like all corn snakes are het for 70 things all the time because they've been bred for a long time. Like this is a very mature morph market for a specific species, which is what will happen to ball pythons eventually. Most things will be priced the same, no matter how many genes are in it. It'll just be like, do you like this? And it'll all be $200. That's the future of ball python market, by the way, in case anybody's wondering. You just have to look at corn snakes to know that. I'm worried about getting scaleless as a heterozygote in my corns on accident, because what do I do with it? I have to wholesale it? Like, I don't even want to put it on my website. It's a Muppet. It's embarrassing to look at. That's not a real animal. Yes, it is a real animal. I respect all of your scaleless animals as whole creatures. Thank you for your service.
All right, what's your number 4?
What? The what gene?
The what?
Exactly.
That's what it's called?
Yes! They did that on purpose to be funny or something. Witty.
I'm looking this up right now. I've never heard this one.
The gene actually looks like it has potential, but like you're not allowed to name it what. I'm cutting you off.
What are the people that called theirs like
window
crack or something, or like cracked out? What was it?
There's a bunch of names that are not marketable, and they might be funny to you, or like, and some names are hard to spell, but I can get over that. I can learn to spell Russo correctly, or the name of someone's.
Zuwadi.
Yeah, I can learn to spell that. Inchi is just a city in Africa. That's fine. Let's do that. Let's sort of recontextualize ball pythons with where they're from. Let's do that. But hampering a gene so early on with a sort of unfortunate name, it's a little irritating to me. And it might be worth investing in, but I don't want to. Busy, not caring.
I can't even find it on Google or on Morph Market.
I've seen it on Hardwired Exotics videos. He's working.
We're gonna have to take notes after the show. You're gonna have to tell me so I can go look at it.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. Okay. That's a dumb name. I concur.
What's your number 4?
My number 4 is Hidden Gene Wilma.
All right. Just because of the name?
No. For some reason, I know a lot of people use it, and a lot of people love it, and I'm not hating on it. It's just not for me. For some reason, when hidden gene walnut is in combinations, I can't see it, or I can't understand what it's doing or how it's reacting, and I don't understand it in its single form by itself. I don't know what I'm looking at, and I don't know, like, I don't get it, and I don't see the appeal, and when there's multi-gene combinations, I'm like, okay, I see all those genes, but where's the hidden gene WOMA?
I feel that way about WOMA, but not hidden gene WOMA.
Is there a difference?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
WOMA is like a bander, sort of. And hidden gene WOMA is bander, but it's sort of fiery looking. It has like a different color than...
It does. It does have a little bit of a different color. I just struggle with it. And so
it's fine.
I tend to just avoid it like the plague.
I don't have any, and I don't want any because I want to have my wobble genes very controlled, or potential wobble genes. So I would... A super blackhead wobbles sometimes, but it's worth it. But do I need to invest in a hidden gene WOMA that can have a slight wobble in the heterozygous form sometimes? No, I don't need it. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do like hidden gene WOMA clowns though. They're really cool, and I get weird feelings about hidden gene WOMA when I look at the clowns.
Well, you get that way when you look at most clowns.
Yeah, it's true. That's my kryptonite. Oh shit.
So yeah, for some reason it's off-putting to me, and it's not something that I will ever purposefully include into my collection. It does look like
that one also suffers from price sadness because it's not well loved, and maybe the wobble is also affecting the price too.
Oh, is it dropping right now?
No, I just mean like it's been dead for a long time.
Okay. I know some people Justin work it really hard, and I don't plan to do that.
My number 3 is Pastel.
My number 3 is Pastel.
We've done it! We need some sort of sound of like clapping or children cheering. We finally doubled up.
You can add that later.
Yeah. Obviously, Pastel, everyone already knows everything that's wrong with Pastel, so we don't know if we have to go too hard into it.
We don't even need to. We just have to say it. Pastel. Yeah. It's useful in Desert Ghost and Enhancer, and I feel like in everything else, those are the babies that are going to get sold.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that Pastel can do good is in the dominant ones. So Acid/Confusion and Leopard. Pastel, for some reason, asks them to be really busy, and they just are like, okay, I'll do it. But because those are such dark genes, it like fixes the washy problem when they get older.
Yeah, I don't even like it in Leopard. I actually really hate it in Leopard.
Okay.
And I haven't seen it with Acid, but I'll look that up.
Yeah, go look up Josh Jensen's Acid Pastel combos. For some reason, it like really overreacts to Pastel. So if you Desert Ghost it would be really nice. Like you could clean it up the rest of the way, and the Pastel would ask Acid to be really busy and complex, and then the Acid would be like, "Sure, I'll go for it," and then you would be perfectly clean in Desert Ghost. I have a hard time in Pastel too. I want to die most of the time.
I didn't love it to begin with, and when I was first starting out, I had it in a mail, and I made 1.5 million pastels and fireflies and super pastels, which are not as terrible as pastels. And you hatch out these beautiful hatchlings, and then a minute later they're awful, and it was heart-wrenching, and you don't want to look at a whole rack full of browned out pastels that are 2 weeks old, and it was very depressing. And so from that point on, I was like, I hate all pastel. I'm selling all my pastel. And then of course you get into Desert Ghost and Enhancer, and you're like, crap, I sold all my pastel. So I need like a little bit, and I do tend to like the more orangey brightness of Citrus Pastel line, but it still has, like, it's not a fix-all for the problems of Pastel. It's a love-hate relationship. I know it has uses, and I know that it needs to be in my collection, but I really struggle with having it in my collection.
Yeah, the hardest part is somebody's excited about Pastel for whatever reason. Like, they like the Pastel puzzle. It doesn't make it any easier to sell the, like, byproduct babies of a pairing just because the Pastel puzzle is cool. Like, if you are keeping it for the time being...
It actually sells really well.
At a show?
At a show.
Yeah, it doesn't sell well online.
No, pastels and fireflies and super pastels sell amazing at shows.
What did you price them at the show, if you want to say? Like, what a single gene pastel?
No, I had pastels. We're local to the Seattle area. I had pastels priced at $80.
Both genders? Same
Both
price?
Both genders.
Okay.
Yeah, genders actually don't matter at a show, but I did have fireflies, males and females priced. I had females priced $20 higher. So females were $140 and males were $120. I had 11 million from my first season of learning and breeding what I had available to me in breeder size and figuring out what the heck I was doing. I made 11 million pastels and fireflies, and I've sold most of them already.
Yeah, that's the other hard part about having it in your breeders is then you are maybe trying to get away from it. So then you can't keep your own stock and put it in your holdback rack because you're trying to avoid
in my holdback
too much
rack.
of it.
And I sold their parents, so that's sad. But
it's not in your rack anymore.
You can't keep anything, and you can't continue to produce with them.
You can't sell whatever at the high level either, unless it's Desert Ghost.
Right. I wouldn't even bother putting one on Morph Market, but they did really great at the shows.
All right. Good show. Save. Thanks, shows.
Thanks, shows. Thanks for coming back after, COVID.
My number 2 is Huffman.
My number 2 is Butter Lesser.
What? I mean, Butter Lesser sucks, but I didn't know if it was top 5 material.
It is for me.
Yeah. Shit. I think the super is absolutely flawed. No one should breed for it, Lesser.
Absolutely.
The eye problems are too many and too often, and it's gross. The lesser pied is a waste of time and it's gross because the eyes are too small and gross. How many times can I say gross? I'm just like...
And you said, why did it not make top 5? But you just said like 10
because it's good, like one copy and a dark gene. Like a leopard lesser is very attractive. Acid lesser, black pastel lesser.
I'm not saying it's the worst gene of all time. I'm just
lesser.
saying it's one of my least favorite.
Yeah, that's fine.
And I don't like having it. I have it in my hygiene genetic.
Maybe that's why you hate it. You have a personal sort of
It's personal vendetta. Well, at this point, a lot of my experience is personal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense.
Rather than like a broad base in the industry, it's more what I'm drawing on for my first season and limited experience. And it's very frustrating to me to want to keep his beautiful babies, yet
keep hitting lesser.
They all have lesser.
Yeah.
Like I can't breed them back to him.
Nope.
And you have to be really careful. So am I going to have lesser on the male side or am I going to have lesser on the female side? And it gets bell genes in general trip me up because I don't want white snakes. And like you said, Mojave is the bee's knees. So the lesser equivalent, it's a beautiful morph all by itself and it does beautiful things. And I'm not saying it's the ugliest and it doesn't wobble. It does have small eyes in the super, but as a single gene, it's okay. Just I would prefer if my high-end males did not possess lesser.
I can feel your personal suffering coming through loud and clear. I picked Huffman because Huffman has the least exciting 8-ball complex of all time. Like the single gene almost is nothing, and the super is a cinnamon. So if your super is a cinnamon, wow, cutting edge stuff. Like it's so not exciting for an 8-ball complex animal. There are lots of other ones that are any amount
so not
more
exciting enough that I've never even bothered to look into it and learn anything about it.
It's got, I guess you could say it has potential somehow, but it's everything an 8-ball is, just less. Wow, what a shining review. 2021, Jessica Hare. So if you really want to work 8-ball complex and have a viable super, work HRA or Lori or whatever. The same thing. Okay.
Same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
If you want a really cool heterozygote but don't want to worry about the super, black pastel. If you want a slightly worse black pastel, work cinnamon. Where does Huffman fit in that? It just exists.
It doesn't. It just exists.
Yeah. So I don't particularly hate it. I've never had it. I just don't want it. And I think it's the worst because of it's just absolutely
Why would you work with something that would
a flat note in an orchestra
of a single gene?
Yeah.
What's your number 1?
Spider.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Spider is bad because I think people should just stop talking about Spider, mostly. If you like it, go ahead and work it. There's obviously a price penalty and people will find a way to judge you and it's harder to wholesale babies. But you like it, so go ahead and do it. But people are always grandstanding about how they're trying to save Spider from the people who want to cancel Spider. I don't care, really. But if you want to make babies that are good pets, you should be making babies that act fully like a normal ball python at all times and under all stress conditions. Tough break.
So So I love Spider. I do not plan to continue to work with it in the long term. it is one of my favorite morphs. My two favorite snakes are spider. Bumblebees still sell at shows like freaking hotcakes, but I hear you. I hear you, and I am gearing that direction because I think you're correct. Spiders and bumblebees drew me into the hobby. The very first snake that my daughter and I bought together was a bumblebee. So I just have this innate love for the morph, and it gets a lot of hate. And I'm not saying that it shouldn't get the hate, and I understand from a business standpoint and from selling of pet standpoint that we need to move past spider. Like, it just needs to not be there anymore. But it's a little frustrating for me because some of the other morphs that do wobble don't get as much hate. And that's frustrating to me. I do have
they just don't wobble as much, so I think it's still a fair to like single spider out. You know, like a champagne barely does anything.
Some champagnes do wobble though.
But they don't wobble a lot.
I have two spiders that don't wobble at all. But I have had a spider that did the full corkscrew crazy.
Yeah, I just think like the top end of the behavior is stronger in a spider than it is in any of the other wobblers, so that's why
I don't disagree with you, and I'm trying to get myself there, but my initial emotional attachment is still there.
It is hard, especially for the people who started and they're like, Bumblebee was my goal and my dream, and I made it, and I love it, and it's been with me for 10 years. Why would I ever let spider go? Like, I totally get that. But I've had people tell me in my face, like, I would never buy from you if you sold any spiders at all or had them. And I'm like, oh, that's a strong statement of intent. If they saw spiders on my website or in my booth or whatever, they wouldn't even come to my table to pick another animal.
See, I had a spider baby at each show that I've been to, and it's one of the first ones that sells, and I'm always very clear, like, do you know what spider is? Do you know that there's all this negative? Because people could go home with that, they're in love with their new baby snake, and they're like, yay, I'm showing the world my new baby snake, and then everybody shits on them because do you know that you just bought this special needs snake? And so I totally, like I said, intellectually I'm there, emotionally I'm still working there, and I do have a few spiders in my collection that I need to phase out. But it's hard. It's hard when you fall in love with something and it has all this baggage around it, and you realize that you have to move away from it. It's been a struggle for me, but I'm down to like half as many spiders as I had before. So I will.
We're managing our spiders. Obviously, it's not an indictment of any of those genes, really. If you like it, go for it. It's all personal taste.
Those are what your projects are around.
These are fake snakes that we all talk about for no reason. They have no real bearing on reality or the actual snakes in the wild that are doing their thing. All right, top 5 recessives, which will be probably very homogeneous between the two of us. My 5th is Desert Ghost, even though I have feelings about it.
My number 3 is Enhancer Desert Ghost.
Okay. It has to be top 5 because it is highly transformative. It looks very nice in person. Like it in any morph it's in.
Insane.
Like their eyes are crazy looking because their eyes get lightened up, so it looks weird. They remind me of like a T+ albino boa because that's sort of what's happening. Like the melanin is being made but not made all the way. I think it does wonders in pied, fixes pastel, fixes all kinds of stuff that's broken. You didn't even know it was broken. You can fix it. The Desert Ghost.
And if you have 2 dark genes.
Yeah. My problem is it's a reducer, so it reduces clown heavily, and so the almost Pompeii that Justin showed that was Desert Ghost is not as good as the non-Desert Ghost version. Sorry, everyone else in the world who probably disagrees with me, but I want a ball python that's red is more exciting to me than a ball python that's clean but yellow and orange, because red is the hardest thing to get.
In pied, it needs to be in pied. I think in just straight clown, it's not love for me. I think I'd rather, which I'm not currently working this project, but I'd rather see Ultramel mixed with clown than Desert Ghost.
They look good as adults. I haven't seen enough of them to be confident that that's the recessive I want in a or clown combo, but Ultramel.
You like clown hypos.
Yeah, I just like hypo. It looks blue. I don't know. I'm into blue. My logo's blue. I have a blue problem. Leonardo of the Ninja Turtles, sign me up. I'm here. Huey, Dewey, and Louie. You know, there was a blue one. That was mine. Hypo was my number 2.
Hypo. I have Orange Ghost because I prefer the more orange version of Hypo rather than the more blue version.
I think that they're enough the same that it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter at all. But it's my number 5.
All right. My number 4 is puzzle. I don't even have any puzzle. I mostly put it up there for like potential.
I have that as my number 3 of potential.
Oh, potential genes.
Morphs.
Yeah, I didn't put any recessives in potential, but that's okay.
Well, then I cheated and I have 5 extra.
Yeah, because I think there's a lot of recessives with potential because it just takes so long to see anything. Monsoon and even sunset is still in the potential phase for me, but that's okay. I think puzzle is great. It's just how many like pattern recessives can one collection have and work successfully? Should I do tri-stripe?
As many as people think.
Should I do tri-stripe, clown, and puzzle? No, I don't think
Not if you're working Desert Ghost too.
Yeah, I don't have the time or the energy, but I do like it.
Or the rats.
Or the racks, or the rats. I do like it. I think it's got a lot of stuff to do. The stuff they're making now, they're trying to make the GHI Mojave puzzle and the Bongo Mojave puzzle. Like there's the building blocks of that are out there. So when we start seeing that and it looks really busy and complicated, I'm sure I'm going to be like, that's great. Sign me up for more of that.
I think you're eventually going to convert to puzzle instead of Desert Ghost. That's my prediction.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, people.
My problem is I need Desert Ghost to fix Pied. I barely like Pied as it is. Pied didn't make my top 5 recessives.
Why do you have Desert Ghost or Pied if you have? There's all these other ones you could be working.
I don't know. It's partially
I don't get it.
Some of it is legacy stuff. It's what you bought in to begin with, and now you like that animal for some other reason, like it's other genetics. Right. And so you're like, do I transfer this one just to clown, like breed all of these female het pieds to clowns, work on that part, or do I still double down on the fact that there's pied in there and I should just be breeding them to a visual recessive male pied because I know it's in there and that's the more financially viable use for that animal? I'm going through the motions of figuring it out. I do like Desert Ghost enough to never get rid of it. Like my one visual male I have is very nice looking forever. Looks great. Sign me up.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it should be the king of combos. I've had people say and hear, and I listen to them, they're like, the Desert Ghost clown will be the base clown and you just add stuff to that. And I want to fight them.
I don't agree with that statement either. I don't think it's the direction to go for clown. I think
it was High Desert or something. He was like, yeah, I believe firmly that this is the way all clowns will be from now on. And I'm like, please no. I
agree that the market will trend that way for the next 2 years, but I don't agree with how I don't love it. It's not my favorite. So I'm going to push mine more clown pied or pied, and we'll see how it does in the Kiki. If it's dirt in the Kiki, then I may just move that recessive out of my project.
I'm sure it'll be fine. Like it'll never be dirt, but if you're trying to go for a specific phenotype when you get to kinky,
things that pair with clown better.
Yeah, it's called Ghost or Orange Ghost. The Orange Ghost isn't perfect either. Orange Ghost does best when it's paired with dark genes. It does middling with light genes. Like it fixes some stuff, but it's like a Ghost Clown Pastel doesn't do that much for me either. But it's the Pastel's fault. It does help the Pastel a little bit because it cleans it up, but not a ton. Not as much as if it was Desert Ghost. Black Pastel Clown Ghost. Much better. Wow. That is also an $8,000 snake. Component parts weren't that expensive, and it isn't being hyped as much, but it still looked great too.
Yes, it does.
So Ghost is my 2 and Clown is my 1. Tri-Stripe is my 3. Tri-Stripe is just an alternate reality clown.
So I have Tri-Stripe on my least favorite.
Whoa!
But I'm a G-stripe girl, so I mean, a lot of people hate G-stripe. A lot of people are like, it's a washed out side snake with a little stripe on it, and sometimes your stripe sucks.
G-stripes in my worst recessives. Number 4.
I mean, it's fine. I get it. I'm willing to take the heat on it. I think it has a lot left to be done with it. I think adding leopard and adding inchy and bringing some of that pattern back and line breeding for the busier genetic stripes. I just think that there's a lot of places it could go that no one's been willing to work. I think it just got written off the foundation. You should
always have like, I don't know, a sleeper section where it's still like commercially viable, but it's your version of that.
Right.
I wouldn't care about G-stripe at all if it didn't make a Kiki. 100%. Like I wouldn't even have like looked at it at all. But the Kiki is absolutely transformative and absolutely a new pattern. And it will make, even if you don't make Kikis with them, any G-stripe that you make that is high gene count worth a lot of money that the Kiki even exists. Because then people can take a high gene count G-stripe and do what they need to do with it.
And put it into their Kiki project.
Yep. So
I've seen that in the market trend. So my recessives were pied, genetic stripe, enhancer, and I put cryptic, which we haven't talked about at all.
I like cryptic too. There's like a spot in the middle where you're like, I like it. It's good. Sign me up. But I don't know if it's top 5. Why do you like cryptic?
I like that it's still mostly untapped. I feel like clown, while I now understand the beauty of clown and the importance of clown, and that clown is a heavy component in both of my major projects, it was not something that I initially loved. But cryptic or kryptons, I get excited about. I get excited about learning how to identify them and learning how they're going to react. And I'm excited to see where that project goes more than I am clown. I understand it's like the necessary evil for me, and I know that that's terrible because it's your favorite. But I love pied and I love
Come at me, bro.
And I know it's totally the opposite of you.
That's good though.
I love pied, I love
G-stripe,
and I understand that they both need clown with them too. So it's like the thing I have to have, whereas Krypton feels like something I can explore rather than something that is forced upon me to further.
Yeah, because it's already like half the market anyway.
Correct.
Cryptic, because it's allelic with clown, it's going to suffer the price drop that candy and toffee have. Because they're allelic with albino, you can make a candino.
They're more accessible and easier to make and
right.
faster.
So the price will drop.
Price down. Absolutely.
It'll be 100% the same.
Irrespective of the market trend.
Yeah, it'll match the clown price or be slightly less. And I've had people very recently be like, I don't know, people who are not in the ball python industry be like, Krypton or cryptic, to me it looks like nothing. And if you're not quite nuanced, I agree. Their wholesale or pet price will be less than the clown price, which is already less than the pied or albino price because they don't look flashy in the single gene form. So I think the non-boutique long-term potential for Krypton Cryptic is lower than clown still, even though clown has been around longer, because the new person will not readily identify it as a cool morph, even though it is a cool recessive morph with lots of potential and it reacts differently. Gene. Yeah. And it'll be easy to make because you can make it Krypton with any het clown you have. But I still like it and I want to use it. And if it makes something cool in pied that's truly unique in pied, or tri-stripe, if it makes a better tri-stripe clown, like a tri-stripe Krypton is better than the tri-stripe clown, or the tri-stripe puzzle is better, then we still have 20 years to get there. But normal people on the Discord look at a Krypton and they're like, looks like a normal to me. And I'm like, it's not, but it's close.
It's not, but I get what you're saying. No, so I totally am excited to see Cryptic or Krypton Desert Ghost pied as opposed to the classic clown pied.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, we've already seen different clown pied versions so much. It doesn't matter, really.
Right. So it just is something that adds that little bit of excitement for me, even though I understand marketability and I understand price drops and all that. I'm not like, oh, this is the next best more, but it makes it exciting enough that I can handle clown being in all of my stuff.
Yeah, some
people have a little bit of cryptic in there too.
Yeah, some people are still selling Kryptons with no hets for 2,000 or ish 1,500, and I'm like, you need to drop that way down because it's clown light right now. Like, it should be, in my opinion, very similar to what a clown price should be already. And so some people are buying at that level, but I don't think you should be. I think you should be waiting. You shouldn't
be buying in at that level, but it is.
Unless it's like a combo, like it's already het DG and het pied.
I
go for it. The price is whatever you want it to be.
At least for the next year or two, Krypton or Cryptic is going to be overpriced for the next year or two before people realize
figure it out, that they
figure it all out,
or that all the desert ghosts are already het cryptic.
The market hasn't figured that out yet, though.
But they need to, because that means it's already everywhere and it's not rare.
But also, I think that het cryptic has, like, much like het clowns, I think it has some visual cues.
Sure, yeah, it is brighter.
And so I think that will bring the price down as people start to recognize the visual cues and start to say, oh, my desert ghost is, or they prove out their desert ghost is het cryptic as well. I think that it will trend through the market, but it hasn't. It's still the initial of, oh, this is super new, and oh, nobody has it. People don't realize that actually a lot of people have it hidden in their collections.
Right. I think like that, we had that pretty bad last summer, because when Billy put out the first video about it, people got kind of crazy and the price went up quite a bit. But now it's actually It has fallen, just hasn't fallen enough still to me. And I think the people who are sitting on a bunch of it thinking it's the next big recessive.
No.
It's not. It's the next big version of clown that you can clown stuff with.
Correct.
Sorry. Again.
But intellectually, it's keeping me engaged.
Oh, yeah. It's much more interesting than just keep running clown. But I've seen situations where the Desert Ghost Het clown is still more expensive, obviously, than the Desert Ghost Het cryptic, because people still want to prefer like the guaranteed clown and not necessarily make kryptons. Also, for the record, the possible cryptic or clown hets should be called crypto hets. I don't know how many times I need to say this. Nobody's listening to me, but it's the perfect name. We have a cryptic, a clown, and the animal that is het, cryptic, or clown that's the progeny of a krypton should be called a crypto het. It's perfect. Perfect in every way.
You could just start hashtagging it. It's fine.
I don't have any crypto. I do have a crypto het. The spot-nosed yellow belly is a crypto het. It's so good. It's already a word that describes something, and we just add het.
You heard it here first, folks.
This is breaking news. And this is from boas, because boas have something called a paradigm, which is a boa woman caramel and a sharp albino. It makes a paradigm. And the babies from a paradigm are para-hets, because they are either boa woman caramel or sharp, but you don't know. So we just call, instead of saying like boa woman caramel / sharp albino, possible het, we just say para-het. We've simplified things. The ball python industry needs to learn from the
catch up
from the boa industry and just use the little precursor. And there should be like highway het or something instead of saying yellow belly or gravel.
Yeah, we did our worst incomplete doms.
Yeah, I'll just do my 5 and then we can talk about it a little bit. I have sunset as the worst, though I think it's still sort of in the potential category, and I almost think monsoon is there too.
I have monsoon as most potential. I have sunset as my worst.
Recessive.
I don't get a brown snake with a slight orange tinge.
The ones that are Brad Bower's doing are getting better, but they're still not great.
I don't get the sunset. I don't get the price of sunset. I don't get the people who are excited about the results of their sunset projects. I am confused in general about that whole enchilada.
The one thing I really don't get is why they think the sunset albino or the sunset lab albino is going to be red. There's no red.
Nobody's produced it yet?
Not yet. I think AAP's still working on it, but I 100% disagree with any sort of guess that adding an albino to a sunset will make a red snake. When that happens, it's not going to be red. It's going to look yellow, orangish maybe, and have the sunset pattern, but not be red. Spoiler alert.
It's going to be disappointing.
Yeah,
that's
because
for sure.
The red is coming from like this like diffuse brown with the orange coming through, and it just sort of appears red.
I think sunset is actually going to make the albino worse.
Maybe, yeah. As it fades out and as it gets older. Yeah.
I also think the caramel albino needs to go the way of the world.
Yeah, that's my number one worst recessive.
Worst, yep.
Although it still worked quite a bit for being
It still worked, and it's worked with hypo quite a bit.
Yeah, it sucks. Well, I mean, it looks cool, but...
It's beautiful. It looks great. It should not be continued. If Spider has to go the way of the world, if Desert had to go the way of the world, caramel albino needs to follow suit.
Yeah, 100%. That's my number one. My 2 and 3 are regular albino and lavender albino, which is funny.
I have lavender albino. That's my number one.
Because I have a
worst morph.
They have a very narrow range of uses, and that's still fine, but they will never be dominant in my collection ever for any reason, ever. They're too restrictive.
Actually now have no visual albino or lavender albino in any of my collection.
You did it.
I did it.
You purified yourself of evil.
I have it in some hets still that are they're double hets, and so they're staying around for their other hets, but I purged the albino, unfortunately.
One of the reasons I've reconsidered maybe keeping a 1-1 group of visuals is to test, because het lab and het albino have het markers. So if you're I don't know why this animal is slightly oranger and it's a pied, it might actually also be het lav. So you can test with lav to double check, not knowing anything else about its lineage.
I'd rather use the female for something else, rather than purging out het. Yeah. Yeah,
it's a long way to go about
it.
I'm
at the point in my building where I don't have enough
Space for
as many as I'd like breeder females. So teasing out a het feels like a waste to me.
It is a waste. This would be more like
okay.
an intellectual pursuit.
An intellectual. I see all mine have the next 3 years of I had to, flip a coin on who they were going to because I wanted them equally as much.
Yeah, this year I'm putting sons back to mothers, not for financial reasons or because it's the best morph pairing. It's 100% an intellectual pursuit where I'm like, you have a granite gene. I wonder if it's polymorphic or monogenic. You get your son. Congratulations. Or I think you're het for G-stripe. Don't know. I don't have a male G-stripe. I'm going to breed you to your son. Here you go. Etc. That is not a good financial move. Don't do that. But
don't do that. I also have rainbow on my least favorite.
Oh, I haven't thought about rainbow enough. It looks like a banana.
It looks like a browned out banana with no spots. So I don't understand. It's still got like a higher dollar value too. Like Monarch, both of those projects, it's like there's a better, even Caramel Albino, there's a better. Go with Ultramel if you want that project.
At least Monarch looks darker, different. It looks like burgundy and gold instead of orange and purple to me.
Yeah.
So like you want a different color palette, you can go Monarch if you want. I don't know. It's fine.
For me, it's like I don't have Ultramel, but if I'm going to do one of those projects, it's going to be Ultramel.
Yeah, I think I would do that based on just on price at this point. Like, I don't need to pursue a single Monarch, which I barely like that color anyway, at that price point. But I could go grab, 3 female Ultramels and breed one to the Tri-Stripe, one to the Clown, and one to
Good luck finding 3 female.
Yeah, not anymore. Billy's talked them up too much. They used to be $400.
Yeah. No, Billy's buying them all.
Yeah, but Ultramel's like not even, A, not on the radar, and B, doesn't seem to matter at this point to me. But
it's not I don't have room for that many recessives, and I've had to really condense and focus. That's one that distracts me quite often, actually, where I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta buy into that, but I gotta remind myself.
I don't know if there is another recessive that I want to buy into. I think about Ultramel occasionally, but it's almost exclusively because Billy's talking it up so much, like he's convinced it is the next Clown. I'm like, am I missing something? I have Banana, and I don't really like banana that much. It's fine. Do I want more banana-ish type things? Nope.
I have on my most potential list Sentinel or Paint and Black Xanthic, which are both things that if I could have unlimited space more than funds, I would love to play with either of those.
Oh yeah. If I could, I was doing Code or Incomplete Dominance, but Black Xanthic and Paint would be the recessives I would pick up for sure. Mine are all Incomplete Dominance, but I had untapped Calico still. Like, we still don't know what it does in certain recessives.
Okay.
I also have Sapphire, Calico, Random Granite Genes, Wookiee, and then Bambino as my, Incomplete Dominance with the potential I'm interested in.
Okay, say yours one more time, because I think you hit a bunch that I have.
Sapphire, Calico, Random Granite Genes, Wookiee, and Bambino for Incomplete Dominance. If I could add recessives, maybe just Paint / Sentinel and Black Xanthic. I don't know of another recessive that's even that cool.
I have Bongo, Cypress, Wookiee, Sapphire, and Lace.
Lace is cool. I don't know what to do about the fact that it's too popular now all of a sudden. And so
sometimes it's cool and sometimes it's like, are you sure?
Yeah, the single gene.
Nice
the single gene doesn't.
Single gene lace. And sometimes there is yikes.
Yeah, you'd have to treat it like a recessive. Like one of the members of the pairing has to be a homozygote. It doesn't make Black Pastel look very nice, and it doesn't make Mojave look very nice, and dark genes in general. It reduces and tightens them up and brightens them up. The best thing it does is when it does it with Yellow Belly, the super lace Yellow Belly. It's a very unique effect, so people need to be pairing and buying in such a way that Yellow Belly is almost always in the pairing, because that's the coolest part about it, not just the color.
Sapphire is on my to-buy list. It's something I'm watching.
Yeah, I'm watching it too. To me, it's not a buy yet, but it reminds me of the qualities of a really dark Mojave or a dark gene that looks sort of complicated and interesting still. So
I've seen a few that are just really cool. And when I see those ones, I get really excited. And I'm like, oh, I gotta add that to my to-buy list. But then you see other ones that are not exciting. And so it's on my watch list, but I think I'll eventually buy into that.
Yeah, animals like that, once you get enough visual recessive females, you can just go buy a male and make a couple hets here and there, and you won't have to like buy in a complicated combo.
Right.
So I'm sort of waiting for that. Like, I don't need to go buy every version of every gene currently. I just need to age up what I already have and flesh those projects out.
Too, yeah.
And then I can go buy one or two specific animals with specific needs. I think we did it.
I think we did it too.
It did take a long time.
I think we made it through.
Where can they find you? Jana King.
I am Jana King, and you can find me on ASM Royal Tails, either Facebook or Instagram. Instagram is my preferred platform, so if you want to contact me, go ahead and reach out.
I'm Jessica Hare. Please don't contact me. I live in a yurt in the forest, and I follow a herd of cats around, and it's beautiful at every moment. Sometimes I'm on Instagram, Hare Hollow Farm. Check me out. All right, love you.
We'll
Bye.
see you next week.
Merry
Bye.
Christmas. Oh, it's too early. Just kidding.
You're not recording anymore, right?